Hello, welcome to the Parenting Program Show. I am your host, Jeremy, the Kung Fu Guy. I am a force of nature married to another force of nature. Her name is Autumn, and we have two amazing, explosive balls of energy called kids. I am a speaker, teacher, author, catalyst, and Kung Fu master, here to help you empower your kids to speak up and own their voice. We're going to unlock and remove the chains of childhood that seem to hold us from our destiny with the tools to have inner strength, confidence to speak up, be heard, and be understood. Let's go play. Game on, yo. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Parenting Program Podcast. And today I have a special guest. It's actually somebody I've been on his podcast. So after you get done with this, make sure you go and check out when I spoke over there with him about fatherhood and about parenting and about all kinds of awesomeness. But my guest today, I'm very excited to share with you, is Mr. Klaas van Oosterhout. And he is from nowhere near America, which is awesome. So we're doing an international call. And I have to say, I love Zoom because the technology is fantastic. And if you'll indulge me for just one moment, I'm going to jump over because a mutual friend of ours, Brandon, wrote a really good biography introduction piece on Klaas. So I want to read this to you. And it says, shout out to a guy who has burst out of the dad space with a great enthusiasm and a no-holds-barred gusto. Klaas has just acquired 4 clients in a rapid clip and has space for 1 more. Yes, this is a potentially awesome for you. And no, I don't get any freaking money to promote him. He came onto the scene saying he wanted to impact 1 million fathers' lives, which is so different from, including myself and many others, who say we want to impact at least 1 life. You know the drill. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that approach. However, Klaas started off with a large vision, and I love him for that. Now, when he did start, he also had a second business he was working on very hard to keep afloat, and he was struggling to gain traction with either one. He made the decision, and for those of you who aren't familiar with the root of the word, essentially it means to cut off any alternatives. Decision comes from kaidire. He committed himself to focus not only on becoming a fearless father, that was about 3 months ago, but he has taken on paid coaches that he's investing in to make sure that he's getting his development and his training. He is being the example of everything he's telling his clients to be doing. And Brandon and Klaas have been meeting once a week back and forth to actually work on their coaching and coaching each other. And I am proud of him, just as I am of so many others. Hard work, check. Dedication, check. Focus, check. Passion, check. Determination, check. He's got the 5-finger fist of love and awesomeness. And we're going to create a vision because you guys can do this too. So if you need a coach or you want to have a conversation on how someone can help, reach out to me or several others. And so that's from a mutual friend of ours who also runs a group for dads about fatherhood for the rest of us. But Mr. Klaas, founder of Becoming a Fearless Father. How are you doing today, sir?
Doing really well, man. Thanks for the intro. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. And so just to give, a quick tag for the moms and dads that are listening in, Klaas is really about helping fathers become a fearless father, primarily in the dadpreneur space, not just about business or marriage or kids, how to get all of it to the max level. So my first question out the gate is, Klaas, what got you into this? What happened in your childhood to say, you know what, this is such a priority that I'm going to literally dedicate my life to making this happen?
Exactly. Well, that's a great question. What happened in my childhood? Honestly, I can't remember. But it happened about a year and a half ago. I was a little lost with the business I had previously. Like when you came on my show, we talked about martial arts, right? You remember probably that I mentioned, like, I got a martial arts website in Spanish, trying to make that work, and it wasn't working for 4 years, or wasn't working well enough, let's say it like that.
Absolutely.
And while I was going through this course, trying to get better in this business, at that moment, coach said, it doesn't really feel like this is your passion. And that felt like, that like literally slap in the face. And I started thinking like, okay, so if this is not it, then how do I, you get really lost, right? You feel all the sand just move away from underneath you and you just feel drowning. And he taught me a couple of techniques, and that's what I did. I just sat down and really started thinking like, hey, why am I doing it? Why do I want so badly to be a dadpreneur? And everything came out, right? I want to make an impact in the world. 1, 2, not just that, I want to make an impact in the life of my kids first, right? That means I have to be here. Like I was working my full-time job and I was away for such a long time, traveling, etc. And then after that, coming home right away, working on the other business. I was like, but this is not it. And then I started realizing that a lot of dadpreneurs, that's exactly what they're doing, right? Which is commendable. However, your relationship with your wife, with your kids, with your friends, it all goes away.
Yeah,
Right?
absolutely. I think a lot of parents can they can relate to that lack of presence, meaning
Mm-hmm.
showing up in someone's life, but they show up with presence. Look, I bought you this, I bought you that. We're good, right? But in their soul, it's like that's not enough. And I think you were in that same place where no, it can't just be this one dial or two dials. I got to take all the dials, take them up to that next level.
Exactly. And that's what he taught us. So got myself a really nice morning routine, got myself a really nice evening routine, planning all my stuff. And step by step, I just started to really learn about how, and all of a sudden, every time we started doing these meditation forms with breathing techniques, and all of a sudden it just hit me. Now, I know this sounds weird, but because I was just asking myself, like, okay, what is my passion? What is my purpose? What can I do? I want to help people. Okay, that's really fake, right? So at a certain point, it just came to me. It's like, look, I want to teach other fathers because now I know how it felt when I was there, not feeling like a real father, right?
Absolutely.
And it doesn't matter if I was in a full-time job or when I started out as an entrepreneur. Entrepreneur was actually even worse, right? Because that's the thing. We got a job. We're working, 40 hours a week, maybe a couple of hours traveling, and then we still have some time home in the weekends. But as an entrepreneur in the beginning, I was working, man, I don't even know. Ridiculous. Like a double of that and the weekends, right?
Yeah. If you don't put boundaries, the challenge as an entrepreneur, you can always create more work. There's always more opportunity. You can always eat. And it's like, but wait a minute, I got to put boundaries on this. If I don't, who will?
Yeah.
Because the work will consume you. And it's great to have that life mission, that life purpose. But at the same time, you've got to roll back and go, but what's the impact on me? Because if you're exhausted, how can you give to anybody else? And if you feel you're disconnected from your wife, you're disconnected from your kids, this is who I'm doing it for. If I have all the money in the bank that I could ever spend in my life and I lose those two relationships, my wife and my kids, was it worth it? And on the other side of it, we already know the answer is hell no. So
Exactly. So that's how I came up with it, how I came up with the name. And then the first thing, I didn't even have a business. Like there was nothing like, okay, this is the way I'm going to make money. It was all about giving value. So I just started doing live interviews. I thought that's really awesome. I'm going to try to find the most awesome of people to come on my show. At first it was people, right? I knew I was focusing on the dadpreneur, but I was even inviting a couple of ladies that were blowing up. But now it's purely dadpreneurs. And in the beginning, it was crazy. Like I had 1 week of 8 live interviews of an hour each in 1 week, right? Just to share that information and learn myself as fast as possible until all of a sudden, again, it just clicked in my head. I said, now I got so much confidence. Now I got so much knowledge to share. Now I got to start coaching. So 3 months ago, I started coaching and then somebody said, you start coaching. Who's your coach? I was like, oh snap, I don't have a coach anymore because my other coach, that whole project left. So I found me a new coach who's absolutely off the chain. And that made me, and that's what Brandon was talking about. That just, and now I'm just sharing more value, both written and going live every day. And it's great. And I'm actually doing less, which is even more awesome.
awesome. And then you can be more present for your family, which is the whole goal anyway. So what was it 3 months ago? You know, for me, the work that I do is really about helping families and kids. You know, for the kids, it's how do you empower them to create emotional safety, to speak up and own their voice. And for a lot of parents, that's not a place they're comfortable either. Speaking truth in their marriage or speaking truth at work or even speaking truth to their kids, there's always that fear. So what was the thing that pushed you over the edge literally 3 months ago to say, you know what? I'm done with trying to stand on two boats. I'm going to plant my flag and I'm going to burn the boats and I'm just going through whatever it takes to get there. What was the thing, or was it a series of things, or how did you arrive at that where like, I'm done, I'm over this, let's go forward? How did you get there?
Yeah, it was a number of things, but especially just keep hearing that voice of my previous coach saying, it's not your passion, it's not your passion. And me trying like, yeah, but I've been working in it for 4 years now. I got to make this work. I must, you're in it at a certain point. It just, and if I give up, I'm a failure, right? People are going to look bad at me, etc. And it was that just kept us going. It wasn't just me. So that business I ran together with my mom. And that was just like, we both just like, oh, we're going to keep trying. And one of us would say like, oh, I had enough. And then the other one would say, no, come on, because we got another sale and let's go. And at a certain point, I was just like, what am I doing it for? I mean, not even like if you had from the martial arts, in this case, it was Muay Thai community, like lots and lots of people that were really positive and stuff like that. You're like, okay. But at a certain point, we were even getting shoveled all kinds of nasty things to us. It's like, why are we doing this? If people not even grateful for us sharing this value, then what's the point? And then all of a sudden, that was by accident. I found out that you can't use YouTube videos in a closed membership site where people have to pay for. And I was like, okay, that's it. I'm not going to start over and put everything on a different platform and then YouTube. Pull the plug out, done. Then all of a sudden was really easy. Like that's not worth it. And then it's just, again, it just hit off. And that's, again, what is proven. And it's stupid because I'll show you the book. I was reading this book before, The One Thing, right? And I was still doing two things. Actually, no, at that time I was doing three things. I was also trying to make affiliate marketing work for me. And it's just like, dude, why do you read books if you don't listen to it and take action on what the book says? So now that I'm here, sometimes it's afterwards, right? Now that you're here, you're like, I understand that book's right.
Yep.
Right? So sometimes it's too late, sometimes it's not. But in this case, it was like, so yeah.
All right, so let's go back. You said like three things in there that are like super important that I want to highlight for my listeners. And the first thing was something Tom Hopkins has actually said. It's when you realize you're going down the wrong road, stop, turn around, go back and get on the right road, because no amount of driving down the wrong road will ever make it suddenly become the right road. And so you and your mom having that resistance right there, like your experience, you're both resisting this thing and you're resisting the success and going, but I don't really feel it. That right there is the biggest sign. And that's part of that emotional integrity is they wait a minute, right? The universe will hit you with feathers. And if you don't pay attention, it'll hit you with bricks. And if you don't pay attention, it'll run you over with trains and trucks. So it's kind of like, when do you want to start listening? Your choice. And so, that first point of just realizing, this second thing is you don't want to create a success you hate. Right? Think about, and this is using Jerry Seinfeld as an example. He was making some ungodly millions of dollars every episode at the end of the show, and he walked away from it because he said, there literally is not enough money you could give me to make me want to keep doing this, because it stopped feeding him in his heart and in his soul and in his mind. He's just like, I'm done. I've said what I wanted to say, and it's not about the money anymore. It's about my life and my integrity is worth more to me than any paycheck I could receive. And I have enough. Let me go find it. Now, if you can get there earlier, I mean, it's nice to sit on a couple $100 million and then decide I'm tired of being paid for this. But from an existential point of view, from an energetic point of view, make that realization, because then I'm sure you've noticed you wake up now more excited. You wake up happier, more content. Doesn't mean everything is easy. There's still struggle and there's still difficulties and there's still challenges, but you're not fighting yourself anymore.
True. Yeah. No, absolutely. I can only say I agree.
Yeah. So I know you're kind of new in the coaching space, but tell me, what has been, as you've gone through this process of becoming a fearless father and in your own life, looking at, different business models, different experiences, what has been your greatest success, would you say, with your kids? What has been the biggest benefit of all the work that you've done on yourself? How is it rolling into them?
Great question. So one, patience, right? Being able to just relax when something pops off in the house. I got two boys, 6 and 3, and stuff pops off daily. I don't want to go in the shower, to name one, right? And probably the whole parents right now are going, oh yeah, know that one, right? And just be able to just calmly go, look, we're going to take a shower and take the time, right? Be able to take the time for them to do this. I had to build that because usually it was like, no, come on. We got to do this. We got to do that, right? I got to work. Come on. Now it's just like, I got to work, but not right now, right? So we can just calmly do that. We always calmly walk into school, and I see all other parents rushing and running afterwards. Like I dropped them already off. I'm on my way back. Parents are still running towards school, stressed out. I like that through all the morning routines, evening routines, my mind is more calm, which helps me in every single other situation that comes up, whether that's my kids or whether that's with my wife, right?
Right.
And just being able to help them with that. So I also do some of the exercises that now I'm also doing with my kids. So one of the things that I start doing is the breathing exercises. And you do that on moments that they're calm and relaxed, and you just make it fun. And you do those exercises. And why? Because kids get very emotional. They can't get something, they go all out. You can't hear what they're saying. They fall, they trip, they get punched, they go all they go from 1 to 10, right? And just by the fact that then you've been working on those breathing, because okay, remember the breathing? Okay, let's start with that. They breathe, and then when they calm down, then it's like, okay, so what actually happened? And then in the end, you're actually like, nothing really happened. Just sometimes they just pop off and I have to calm down again. That's it. So I think that's the biggest thing that has helped me, and that is going to help them for a long time, because that's the most important thing. My oldest one, for example, is struggling with making mistakes, right? We're on the verge of learning how to read, and it is very difficult for him, I think, for any child, but he just doesn't like to make the mistakes. He gets really frustrated. So again, the breathing really helps, and taking the time for me to sit with him and do that is absolutely fantastic.
Perfect. Yeah. So for the parents that are listening, that idea of presence, I said that earlier, but presence is so important for your kids, for them to feel heard, acknowledged, seen, to be able to feed things back. And if you're not stressed, if you're in a place of calm, then you can draw them with you and you can lead them, right? Leadership is all about setting the vision and pulling people, because you can't push a rope. So if you're pushing your kids, you're already in trouble. But it's that idea, you're pulling them. And so you take the time, you wake up in the morning a little bit ahead of the family, and then you go through your morning routine and you kind of frame for yourself, let me get my head in the game of life. And then once you're there, now you have that to go throw at other people. And that's actually going to be super powerful. And then when your oldest is starting to coach the younger one, because the younger one's upset and the older one's like, okay, wait, stop, take a deep breath, remember our breathing. That's when you know, like, those seeds have not only planted, they're starting to bear fruit. Because I do the same thing with my daughter. And, whenever anybody in the house is upset, first thing is always take a deep breath. Let's go slow. Let's calm down. I appreciate where you're at. I understand your feelings, but let's take a deep breath. So now when mom or I get frustrated or we get irritated or whatever, then here's the 4-year-old going, okay, guys, take a deep breath. I'm like, really, kid? You're going to do an intervention?
Exactly. You're bringing it back to me.
Yeah. I mean, it's they listen, they notice.
No, it's funny that you say that, because actually I think it was 3 or 4 weeks ago, my oldest one was saying that to my little one, to take a deep breath. It was funny. And then my youngest one was throwing it back again at the oldest one. So sometimes it's hilarious.
Yeah, because what that happens now is as they go out and they're friends, they're going to become a sea of tranquility, right? Instead of a little pond, because you by yourself is a pond. But as you begin to train your kids, train your family, they begin to influence their friends. This is how we, quote unquote, fight the darkness, right? It's not we fight darkness with darkness and anger and all this stuff. It's being so strong and being so centered and being so full of light in your own life that there's no room for darkness around you. It just ceases to exist because you're just on fire and you're alive, right? So the lighted candle loses nothing by lighting another candle. And that's exactly what you're doing. You're lighting your kids up because you are lit up, because you stop chasing all these different things. So it really comes to this, for me, it's the emotional safety for kids. We as parents have to know how to create it and how to give it to each other. And then it's easier for our kids to feel heard and seen and acknowledged and understood as they see you struggling with or challenged with or making, quote unquote, mistakes. And then you laugh about it and go, wow, I guess I'm about to learn something. they see that confidence and they go, oh, well, if dad can do it, I can do it. And then it begins to roll. And you being conscious of this is going to be so powerful for them as well. So now we get to, can you give us maybe, say, what would be your top 3 tips specifically for the dads, since you love to work with dads? So dads, listen up. Klaus, if you could give us 3 tips to help them up their parenting game, like, let's ratchet this up a little bit. What would you say 3 things?
So trying to stay calm, my voice is definitely rule number 1, right? And setting the right example will be number 2. And meaning that it doesn't matter what you tell your kids that they should do. The question is more, are you doing it yourself? Because what I've noticed for my kids is I can tell them to be quiet by screaming to them, and they're going to scream back at me. So that doesn't work. So me telling them to be quiet, but I'm screaming the next day for something else, that's not showing what I'm saying. So you got to show them what you'd like them to do instead of telling them. And the third one is, I think I got boys. So for me, it's very important that they will treat other women with respect. So I'm trying as hard as I can to show them by how I treat their mother, my wife, right, as best as I can. I think that's the most important thing. I think they learn a lot from what they see us doing, how we respond when one gets angry or when something didn't happen or went the right way. They see that, they notice that, right? Even if you try to talk just by yourselves, they feel that energy. And so I think that would be tip number 3, absolutely.
Yeah, I love that number 3, because a lot of parents that I work with and I talk to, they don't argue in front of the kids. They don't quote unquote fight in front of the kids. And I'm like, but when are the kids going to learn how adults handle things? Because if you always go in the other room and you have those intense conversations, what are you modeling for them? It's secret, mystical, hide the thing, and they're never going to learn how to handle conflict. And are you the type of family you speak what you want, you say what you need to say, and as loud as you need to or whatever to just get it out, get the truth out? Or are you the type of family where we don't talk until we have control of our emotions? And I'm not saying which one's the right approach, but again, being conscious, it's which way do you choose to take it? And in our family, it's a little bit of both. Sometimes, we will just speak our piece. If it gets loud, it gets loud because we're speaking truth. But sometimes when it starts to get beyond loud and it starts to get personal, it's like, you know what? I'm going to go for a walk. I love you. I'll be back in 5-10 minutes. I need to cool down. And we give each other permission. It's not like, don't you walk away from me. It's like, no, I'm not walking away from you. I'm walking away from this argument because I love you and I want to say what's true, not the needs of my ego to protect myself. And sometimes that comes out as, I'm out, I'll be back. Maybe it comes out as just this. I mean, there's different ways to communicate it. But when the kids see that and then they start throwing it back at us, we're teaching them about boundaries, which is to that idea of consent and the idea of controlling your personal space and people respecting what you say and how you act. And so we model all that stuff. So I think those are absolutely perfect tips, right? Be the example, be present and patient first, be the example second. And then, that parent, mom, dad, or father, or mother, whatever the romantic situation, but that adult to adult dynamic is so important for modeling what is a healthy, successful relationship. Because a lot of times, our young men will go after people like mom, and our young ladies will go after people like dad. So we're modeling how should they be treated? What should they be receiving? How should they be talked to? And so I think those are really, really great points of view. And parents, as you're listening to the two of us, I hope you're taking some notes on this. Now, if you're driving, obviously don't take notes, but you can record a quick video. Just what are the top 2-3 thoughts that are coming to you and saying, well, what could we do different? How could we play this game a little different? And I think some of the things we've talked about, they're good not only for parents, but they're good for business people. Because with your customers, should you be patient? With your customers, should you be present? Should you give them a good example of how you think things should be, right? There's an article that just came out talking about CEOs saying that they're not focused on shareholder profits as much anymore as they are customer experience and client experience and employee experience. Because as a good steward of those 3 things, you'll get the shareholder value because you're going to make a positive impact in the marketplace. So Now, this is the challenging one. What do you think is like the top 1 or 2 mistakes that you see dads making with their family and their kids, or even with themselves? What would you say, Dad? Hey, knock it off, wake up, stop this, stop that. What would be your top 2?
Not filling your own cup. I think that's the biggest one that I learned throughout all these live interviews that I've done so far, is when other fathers that are ahead of me start talking about your cup's got to be filled. And not even that, your cup's got to be filled first. Now, there's different views on that. Some say, no, you got to start giving right away. However, it's easier to give from a full cup than giving from like an almost empty cup, right?
Yeah, if you're depleted, all you're giving is pain.
That's what I was going to say. It's like, what are you giving from an empty cup, right? So, and that's the first thing. So work on yourself is number one. And most of them are not doing that. And I think a big one is, once we start doing that, my mistake was, for example, getting really upset if we would have a little fallback and not giving myself grace. So I would also say to all your dads out there, and well, in your audience case, all your parents out there, give yourself some grace, right? There's so many of us. I was talking to, actually, this is kind of funny. I was talking to a mother the other day, and I'm actually coaching a mother now for becoming a first father. I figured that one out. But she was so upset that I think she yelled at her child, right? Mm-hmm. And I was like, but that one instant doesn't make you a bad mom. It was just a moment. Now own the moment, give yourself some grace, and rectify it. Go to your kid, just tell them, look, sorry, mommy, daddy shouldn't have done that, right? This is not the way that we communicate. So forgive me, right? Give a big hug. Hugs, very important, right? A big hug, and go on to the next thing. But most importantly, give yourself some grace. And a lot of dads, and when I especially look at dads, we just kept going in our heads, and that's not a good space to be in. So that will be the 2 things: get out of your head. And
I love it. Yeah, that idea of what you said, give yourself grace. I have a video I just released. It's called Progress, Not Perfection, right? And that's so important for kids, but it's so important for us as parents. It's like, look, there's a friend of mine, and I was on her podcast, and she called her kids experiment number 1, experiment number 2, and experiment number 3. As like, that's a good frame of reference, because they are, you're learning, and each one's a unique individual, and what worked here won't work there, and then maybe I have to change. Usually 1 and 2 are opposites of each other, but then 3 is off the wall sideways. You're like, where did this even come from? What are you? And so they're experiments. You're a work in progress. They are a work in progress. Your parenting skills are a work in progress, right? In my personal story, I've been studying parenting and influence and leadership since I was 9 years old, because of just the things I went through. And so I realized I'm kind of a unicorn in that regard. So I showed up in this parenting space. Doesn't mean I do everything perfect. Doesn't mean I don't yell at my kids sometimes. Doesn't mean I haven't yelled at them enough that they started crying. And then I'm like, oh, wow, I feel like the biggest piece of crap. But now I can beat myself up. And how does that help them? Or what you said, grace, is realize, I'm doing the best that I know how, and my kids are designed to challenge me in just the right ways to force me to have to grow and change if I accept those lessons. And so it's getting into that game. So yeah, those are 2 really good tips to have. So dads, moms, everybody take note. Make sure you're paying attention and you're implementing some changes, and be gentle with it. It doesn't have to be full court press, change everything overnight. Pick one thing out of this whole entire podcast. Pick one idea. And then next week, listen to it again, get a different idea. And then a month from now, listen to it again, get a different idea. Because every time you listen, you're going to pick up something new. You're going to pick up and go, wait, did they say that? Because how did I miss that the first time? And it's going to be in there because this is really good stuff. So Klaus is definitely an expert. And even as he's a work in progress, he's got some great stuff to give you a leg up and give you a step forward, right? And what you said in the beginning, this idea of being a fearless father, it's just having the integrity to speak and to own it, which I think is so important for just all of us to realize. There's so much judgment on each other. There's so many people being judgmental versus just be present and realize everyone's doing the best they can with what they have. So, do you have any parting words of wisdom?
Yes. I want to add to what you just said. So, because the audience that is listening to this right now is listening for a reason, right? They want to learn something new. They need something new in their life. So great. And yes, perfect advice. Take note of the one next thing that you should do, and then the next thing and the next thing. I got another advice, and then mine is more simple. Get in contact with a guy like Jeremy or myself, right? And ask them, share them your biggest challenge. Because I know for a fact that Jeremy or myself, we're very willing and able, because that's our passion. This is our purpose. To hop on a call with you and help you out and set up a plan real quick of, hey, this is your next step, this is your next step, this is your next step, right? Now, what made the biggest impact for me in my life was getting a coach like Jeremy, for example. And the reason for that is that it is not just about, oh yeah, I know all of this, right? Because that's happened to me in the beginning. I listened to a podcast like this, I'm like, I already know that, but are you doing it? And if you're not, then why not? And that might just be not a block that you're not aware of, that a coach or a mentor or whatever you want to call it, or a friend, sees from the outside and can ask you and set up a plan with you. And I can guarantee you that what you do on your own will get you there, absolutely. It might take you 6 months, a year, but I can guarantee you that same result you will get in a month with a guy like Jeremy, for example. So yes, it's great. However, if you have the opportunity, make sure you get in contact with Jeremy, with me. It doesn't matter, like a coach in your area that you're looking for. It will change your life in such ways that you wouldn't have thought possible.
Absolutely perfect. Exactly right. And you're right. There's different mentors, coaches, consultants, perspective, friend, perfect label. We all have different energy. We have different attitudes. We have different skill sets. So that's part of why I'm doing this podcast, inviting other experts. There's people that are like, oh my gosh, you're going to invite somebody who's kind of in your space. And aren't you guys in competition? I'm like, wait a minute, wait. So their job is to help families succeed. And my job is to help families succeed. Who loses? Who loses? Yeah. And let's get the right people with the right coaches, because you want to get the personalities that spark each other to everybody wins. That's not going to happen if you stay in a box. That's not going to happen if you stay in your silo. You got to get out and you got to meet people, right? Brendon Burchard is a great guy, made a program. It's called Experts Academy. And he reached out to all these different gurus and said, hey, doing an event, love to have you. And they were so in their silo that was like, wait, you what? Huh? Somebody sent them a letter of appreciation and said, I'd love to have you come speak. You're amazing. And so he put all of these experts together, paid almost no money for them to be there, just because it was a platform for them to share and for them to get their message out, and everybody wins.
Yep,
Brendon Burchard's mission is bigger, and the people he brought on his stages also are bigger. Win-win. Mm-hmm. Be fearless. I love it. All right. And then what is one thing that people don't know about Klaus?
I'm an open book, buddy. Whew. Now that's a question I haven't had before. What is something that people don't know about me? God. Dude, I go live every single day and I share everything. What is something that people don't know about me? Yeah, I know something, I think. So, all right, let me see. I used to go to the United States a lot, right? Mm-hmm. And when I became 17, I started working in summer camps. And my second year in summer camps, and well, you asked before we started, I'm sorry I put you on the spot, but hey, how do you pronounce your name? And it took you a little bit, right? So there's one guy's like, yo, what's your name? I'm like, Klaas van Oosterhout. He's like, Huff and what? I'm just going to call you Huff and Fluffer.
That's awesome.
So from that day on, for the next, I think I was there 2 months, he just kept calling me Huff and Fluffer. And everybody was looking at like, who's he calling? And I was just like, hey, man, what's going on?
Perfect.
So, yeah, man, I when I was in the States, I had tons of different names because of my name.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's just, that's practicality. I like it. Yeah, Huff and Fluffer. Nice. So there you go. So ladies and gentlemen, if you ever need to hack his passwords, you might have a clue, but maybe not, because he had to go and look for that memory. So, all right. Well, Klaus, thank you for your time. I really appreciate this. This has been a lot of fun. And where can people get a hold of you if they want to talk to you? They want to ask you a question, get on your live, do something with you. How do they find you?
Exactly. So my name, you probably will put my name right there in the podcast, right? So Klaas van Oosterhout, you put that in Facebook, you will find me. I think there's only one. And you can go to whatever podcast platform, type in Become a Fearless Father. You will find me also. On YouTube, Become a Fearless Father, you will find me again. But yeah, I prefer you just reach out to me on Facebook. And to
Perfect.
people that think like, why does this guy not have a website? I don't have a website. So that's personal choice at the moment.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, no judgment. I mean, that's the thing is again, going that be the fearless father. Don't be everywhere if that's not your thing. Don't be everything to all people. Be clear. Here's what I'm here to do, and here's what I'm here to provide. There's no shame in that. There's integrity in that.
And steps, what you said before, right? You
Hmm.
take little steps, and I've tried to do everything at the same time, as we talked about before.
Hmm.
For me now, it's just taking steps, and if one is working, then I look for somebody to implement step 2, which is a website.
Brilliant. Brilliant. Well, thank you, sir. Appreciate your time. So, ladies and gentlemen, this has been Jeremy, the Kung Fu Guy with the Parenting Podcast. And I am so glad to have you guys here. I think it's the Parenting Program Podcast, but I'm not so hung up on the name. I'm glad you guys joined us. Can't wait to have you on again next time. And make sure you like what you heard, hit the subscribe button, share this video out, share this audio out, however you came across this information. What I said earlier, a lighted candle loses nothing by lighting another candle. And there's only 3 ways to spread the light. Number 1, be on fire in your own life. Be lit up. Number 2, help to reflect the light you see in other people. Because sometimes people don't see and realize how amazing they actually are. So reflect that back. Tell them, dude, that was awesome. I love the way you. Let them know and share and reflect when you see awesome, when you hear awesome. If you guys go to my Facebook, you'll see I'm constantly sharing really cool stuff because there's so much cool stuff actually happening in the world. So you can be a fire in your own life. You can be a light in your own life. You can reflect the light, or become a teacher and a parent to create more candles, light more people up, impact other lives. The more we do, the more we shine the light, the less room there is for the darkness, not because we're doing anything other than just being ourselves. So I encourage you, your family, your kids, you are born for a reason. You deserve to be happy, healthy, safe, wealthy, wise. Let's get out there and go play some games that are worth winning. You make it a great day. Klaus, thank you, my friend, and you make it a great day also.
Thank you.